Welcome to 2023 cosmetology students. Sadly, we still get cosmetology students calling us who failed their test in 22, 21, 19, 18, 17, going back sometimes even 10 years. Once you've been out of school for a year or two, you really don't even know where to begin studying. Right? If you did know where to begin studying, you probably would have passed your test the first or second time you took it. And yet, we get calls every day. People took their test 3, 4, 5, sometimes more times. So far, the all-time record was 13 in Kentucky. There's nothing unique about the Kentucky test. The young lady just went to a bad school and had a lousy teacher. And yet she paid the same money. Okay? There's a reason that the pass rate nationally for cosmetology students is 55%. Right? Now, maybe it's higher in your state. It is higher in a couple of states, like Utah has about a 75% pass rate. Then you get into the South with a 35% pass rate. People like to say it's a language barrier. It is a language barrier sometimes. I had an extremely smart Chinese woman as a student. She was an architect in her country. She failed her test several times. It really was a language problem for her. I had a young man from Iran, very smart, was a cosmetologist in his country. Came here, failed his test 3 times. He didn't understand draping. He thought it meant the curtains on the window, which it could mean that, yes, drapes. See, these people actually have a language problem. But if you were born here, or you've been here since you were a small child, it's not a language problem. It's either a problem with your teacher was no good, or you didn't pay attention, maybe because you thought you knew everything. I've been in this business 42 years. I owned a school for almost 30 years. I've known a lot of students, and there's a certain type student that knows everything until the day of their test, when suddenly they know nothing. And then they look around for who to blame. I used to go sometimes with my students to the State Board Testing Center just to see what goes on. And I will tell you, almost inevitably, okay, when the students fail, and almost half do every day, they're in the lobby screaming and crying into their phone, rocking back and forth whose fault it is, and it's not right, and it's not fair. I never heard one student say, if I would have paid attention more, if I would have studied more, I would have passed my test. Okay? They're in the lobby screaming and crying and rocking back and forth, while the students that passed are on their way to a party, okay, and presents at home. The test is not easy. Okay? It doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care what you want to do. I always swore I would never do a manicure or a pedicure when I got out of cosmetology school, and that was 42 years ago, and I never have. But I knew how to do it on my state board test. Whether you're interested in a certain part of cosmetology or not is meaningless. On the test, you're sitting in front of a computer and it wants to know, is it A, B, C, or D? There's no option for, I'm never going to do this in my career. That's just not an answer choice. You have to know the answer. And the computer does not care how well you did your hair and makeup for your photo this morning before your test. It wants to know what is the answer. Now, there are a few ways to know this. If you were lucky enough to go to a good school and have a good teacher, you might pass the test. You could diligently read this book, and this is what a diligently read book looks like. Okay, there are post-it notes and underlines and highlights everywhere with the important things, assuming you know what the important things are. You could get our book. It's under $50. It gives you all the questions and answers from the state board exam. You could call us and take our private training with you and a teacher online, licensed in your state, okay? Several sessions. They will walk you through all the areas of the test. Now, it's especially valuable for those of you who've already failed the test, because you have a failure notice and it shows you the areas you really performed poorly in. That helps both you and the instructor to zero it down. But I will tell you, even without that, I will tell you what areas you perform poorly in. Chapter 5, infection control, it's 1/3 of your test. You cannot pass your test if you bomb that chapter. It's simply mathematically impossible. Okay? That chapter asks you things like the proper disinfection procedure for your implements and tools. Not what you think the proper procedure is, but the actual proper procedure. Let me see. 6 steps they want you to know. 6. Okay? They will ask you things like, do you know the proper way to apply the neutralizer for the perm solution? Now, given that perms are not very popular right now, it's entirely possible you never even did one in beauty school. Or maybe you did and didn't do them the way they wanted it done. They have a very specific way they want the neutralizer applied, and that will be the test question. It's in your textbook, okay, on the chemical services chapter, which I believe is chapter 17. Okay? They want to know, right, how far from the scalp you applied the bleach in a virgin bleach. Okay? It doesn't do any good to eyeball it, as I do, everybody else does. That's a very specific number they want to know. Do you know about AHP, accelerated hydrogen peroxide? Because the test will expect you to know this. Right? These are just a few of the things you will need to know to pass your test. Okay? Now, as I said, this is a great book. 1,100 pages of valuable information. It's a little overwhelming for a lot of people. This is also a great book. It takes 1,100 pages and puts it into about 125, just questions and answers. Those of you who really have been out of school for a while especially and don't even know where to begin, because the longer you're out of school, you don't even know where to start after a while. Give us a call, 760-534-4434. Sign up for our private tutoring program. It's you and one teacher on FaceTime or Zoom. It's affordable, it's fast, and most importantly, it actually works. And 30 days from now, you will have your license. Give us a call, 760-534-4434. Thank you.